And so we're getting ready to get going here, and we're going to make our way over to our mats, and we'll begin lying down. So make your way down onto your mat and lie back. And if it's more comfortable for you to have something under your head when you're lying down, feel free to put something there. As you lie down, as we generally begin lying down, a lot of us have been practicing together for many years, and this is a very familiar experience. This feeling of relaxation that we experience when we lie down. So we feel the floor supporting us. We feel our back relaxing, our shoulders relaxing, the neck can relax because the floor is supporting us. So this action of feeling, this really paying attention to what we're feeling, is a way to practice embodiment, to understand what we're experiencing in our bodies. And this is one of the greatest benefits of a yoga practice, helping us to connect with our bodies. You know, the more time we spend on devices, and in this current experience of life that we're living in, where almost all of us are spending more time on our devices, it takes us out of our bodies and we live in our heads. And so it becomes even more important to spend time just really experiencing what's going on in our bodies. So notice the feeling of your body, the feeling of the floor beneath you, your connection between your body and the ground that supports you. And begin to notice the feeling of your breathing. You can notice the quality of your breath as it is, but just by noticing, it often changes. And then consciously change the breath to become more deep and more full. You can begin with the fullness of an inhale, or you can begin by releasing the breath all the way out. And then just continue that cycle of deep breathing. Deep breath flows into the body. Feel where it's expanding, where the breath is going, what movement is happening as you breathe in deeply. And then feel what it feels like as you allow the breath to empty all the way out. Fullness of a deep breath flowing in. And that nice experience, that calming sensation of allowing the breath to empty all the way out. And that's all you need to focus on right now, is the feeling of your breathing. And as you're experiencing this full deep breathing, I'm just going to share a reading with you from Dana Falls. She says, settle in the here and now. Reach down into the center where the world is not spinning, and drink this holy peace. Feel relief flood into every cell. Nothing to do, nothing to be but what you already are. Nothing to receive but what flows effortlessly from the mystery into form. Nothing to run from or run toward, just this breath. Awareness, knowing itself as embodiment. just this breath, awareness waking up to truth. And of course, the truth is that all we really have is the present moment. We can anticipate the future, we can reflect on the past, but we live in the here and now. So for this time, this morning, let's really immerse ourselves in what we're experiencing in the here and now. You can start to let your breath become a little more natural. And just take a moment to consider what you might want to focus on this morning. What is important to you? What would you like to cultivate, invite in, offer yourself? Maybe pick one thing as your focus or intention for your practice this morning and just breathe that in, a couple rounds of breath. And see if you can come back to that theme, that focus, that intention as we go through our practice this morning. So with your next breath in, go ahead and open your eyes. Let's just take one leg and hug it into chest, hug the knee into chest, and straighten the other leg out on the ground. Maybe bounce that knee on the straight leg a few times, and then let that leg just drop and relax. Hug the other knee in a little closer, and then take that knee out to the side as you breathe in. As you exhale, bring the knee back, hug it and take it towards the opposite shoulder. A little stretch in that outer hip, and take a breath. And then bring the knee back. We'll lift the leg up in the air and support it with the hands clasped behind. Let's flex the foot and point the toes. As you flex the foot, kind of angle it inwards, and then foot to the ceiling, and then just angle it outwards. And then just begin to circle at the ankle. Nice and slow, big circles, just kind of exploring the range of motion that you have in that ankle joint. And then try circling it the other way. Yeah, wiggle your toes, just loosening up the foot, the ankle, any way that feels nice. And then let's leave that leg up and we'll drop our arms at our side. We're gonna try to keep the torso steady and stable. We're gonna try to minimize movement in the hips. We are gonna take a breath in as we start to circle that leg down and away from us. And then we're gonna exhale as we bring the leg back up to the top. So we'll inhale as we circle the leg down and away, and then exhale, bringing the leg back up. Slow, controlled movement, and it's just movement of the leg. So the hips want to come along for the ride, but try not to let that happen. So you can go nice and slow here, and your circle might be smaller than mine, might be bigger than mine, but whatever that circle is it happening just with the movement of the leg? So the hips aren't moving. You might put your hand on your hip to make sure that you're not letting them roll. So circle in this direction one more time, and then go the other way. So that action of trying not to let the torso move requires you to stabilize. It turns on those core stabilizer muscles, which is what we're trying to do here. Trying to wake up the muscles of the core by asking them to maintain stability. And you're noticing how that feels to keep the body steady and stable. Let's go one more time in this direction. Great. And then we'll change legs. So that foot can come down. You can hug the other knee in, straighten that leg you were just working out, bounce the knee a few times, and then just let that leg feel heavy on the ground. And then hug the other knee in a little closer. And then with that same hand, open the knee out to the side. Take a breath. Bring the knee back. Grab it, hug it, and take it towards the opposite shoulder. And take another breath. And then bring the knee back lift that leg up in the air, hold behind the leg, flex the foot, point the toes, flex it again and angle it inward, then foot to the ceiling and then angle it outward. And then just kind of any movement that feels like it loosens things up a little bit. And then keep your leg up in the air, drop your arms to your side, or you can put one hand on your hip. And we're going to take a breath in as we circle that leg in and around and away, and then we can exhale as the leg comes back up. So I just noticed that my hips move. So I'm going to make my circle a little smaller so that I can keep my hips from moving. So this is your chance to really feel your body. Can you feel your body staying steady and stable rather than your hips moving with your leg? So circle in this direction a couple more times, adjusting the size of that circle so that you don't have any movement in your hips. And then go the other direction. Take that leg out, around, and back up. Inhale as it goes out and around. Exhale as it comes back up. Maybe 2 more times in this direction. Great. And then you can put that foot on the floor. We'll put both feet on the floor now. Let's roll to the side. So we're facing our device. And you could have a pillow under your head. You could let your head rest on your bottom arm. We're going to bend the knees on a bit of an angle. And I want you to make sure that this top knee is stacked right over the bottom knee. So this top hip is stacked right over your bottom hip, right? If this top knee comes back, that means the hip is going to be back. And what we want is the knee stacked, the hip stacked. So you might feel like you're a little bit forward, and that's okay. I'd rather have you feel a little forward rather than dropping back, which is what we tend to do. So you could have this hand on the floor. You could have this hand on your hip. I want you to take your top leg, and you could start by having it straight from your body, but then take that leg a little bit behind you. And this is where we tend to roll back. So keep the hips stacked. Maybe hand in front is going to keep that alignment a little better. So your leg is a little bit behind you, and I want you to take it up and then a little bit lower than the hip. So the leg goes a little higher than the hip, goes a little lower than the hip, goes a little higher than the hip, it goes a little lower than the hip. It's a little bit behind you, and we're working deep into the hip here, into the muscles, the glute, and then these little hip muscles, lifting it up and lowering it down, and lifting it up and lowering it down. Now I want you to make little circles here. Goes a little higher than the hip, a little lower than the hip, and we're circling that leg around. Trying to keep the hips from rolling back. That circle is a little bit behind you. And then we're going to change direction. Circle it the other way. Yeah. Trying to maintain strength in the muscles of the hip, because that is one of the areas that support our ability to balance. Strong hips, strong knees, strong ankles are really going to help us maintain our ability to balance as we get older. All right, let's bring that knee down on the other knee, and we're going to push ourselves up, and we're going to swing over to the other side. So again, lying down, you could have a pillow under your head, resting your head on your arms, your knees on an angle, and this top knee is stacked right over the bottom knee. See where that positions your hips, and maintain that position, not letting that top hip roll back. You might put your hand on the floor. And then that top leg, lift it up, extend it out straight in line with your body, but then take it a little bit behind you without letting your hips roll back. And then lift the leg a little higher than the hip, lower it a little lower than the hip. Lift it up and lower it down. And lift it up and lower it down. And a few more like this. Maybe you feel that work right into the sort of the bottom of the glute area there. And then we're going to make little circles. So you're going to just start circling in one direction, keeping that hip from rolling back. Just circling the leg. And then circle it the other way. We'll do a couple more of these. And then we're going to let that leg rest on the other leg. All right, let's push up to all fours. And we'll be kneeling on all fours. Feel free to cushion your knees if that's better for you. So hands, wrists right beneath shoulders, spine nice and long. Let's take one leg and just extend it straight back. And then bring your knee in and extend the leg straight back. Press out through your heel. Bring the knee in and press out through the heel. If this is a little challenging for your wrists, you could do this on your forearms. We're going to do this a few more times. Bring the knee in, press out through the heel. Bring the knee in, press out through the heel. Warming up the hamstrings here, maintaining stability through the trunk. Let's put that knee down and do the other side. Press out through your heel and draw the knee in. So we're trying not to have a lot of movement in the spine here. A little bit of abdominal support for the low back. So rather than letting the back arch as the leg goes back, just keep it neutral. Rather than rounding as the knees comes in, just keep it neutral. And we'll do a couple more of these. Great. After your leg extends this next time, you can put that knee down. Let's take child's pose. And as you drop into child's pose, just again, really paying attention to the feeling of your body, the feeling of your breath, checking in with that intention, that focus for your practice this morning. And then when you're ready, lift your head up, reach your arms way out in front. Get ready for downward facing dog. So arms at least as wide as your shoulders, maybe a little wider. Come onto your knees, curl your toes under. Let's take the hips way up and back. Pushing your hands down, spread out the weight. Notice if your shoulder blades have kind of squeezed together, and can you create space across your upper back, space between your shoulder blades? And then feel the weight of your head just loosely hanging, let it move a little bit. Free up your neck. Bend a knee and press a heel down. Bend that knee and press the other heel down. Just alternate again on each side. And then bend both your knees a bit. Draw the hips way up and back. Think about your spine getting nice and long from your sitting bones all the way to your fingertips. Take a deep breath in and out. And then let's walk our hands back towards our feet, heels lowering down. We're folded over bent knees. Ragdoll here. Maybe sway a little bit to one side and back to center. Sway a little bit to the other side, back to center. Maybe notice how your feet look, how your feet feel on the floor. Really ground down through your feet. Take a breath into your upper back. As you exhale, extend your spine. So maybe fingertips on the floor, maybe hands on your shins. Extend your spine. Right between your shoulder blades, there's some extension. And then fold over and breathe in. And on this exhale, start to draw the belly in. Keep your knees soft here and roll yourself up. Take your time. Feel your spine kind of stacking on itself. One vertebra on top of the other. And then eventually let your neck kind of stack on top of itself, lifting your head. And then we'll come to stand. So I'm going to just come and check in, and I want to see a thumbs up or a thumbs down on how you're hearing me. If anyone's got their camera on, are we doing okay for sound? Or, yeah, I haven't had anybody come on and tell me they can't hear, so hopefully the sound is okay. All right, so we're gonna work on ankle strength and mobility a little bit here. So this is where you might want to have a chair or the wall nearby. So initially you may or may not need to hold on. We're just gonna lift our heels up and lower our heels down. Have your feet about hip distance apart. We're gonna lift the heels up and lower back down. And lift them up and lower them down. And one more time like that. Okay, so now you might want to hold on initially. If you decide you don't need to hold on, that's fine. It might be nice to start. So could you take one foot off the floor and then lift your heel up and lower it down? Let's do the same like a few times. Lift up and lower down. It's a lot harder. Lift up and lower down. You're going to feel the muscles in the feet, the ankles, the calves working harder. Let's do two more on this leg. And lift up. Actually, let's try one not holding on. Can we lift up and lower down? Oh, that's challenging. Let's try the other leg. So you just lift the other foot a little bit off the floor, and then we're going to rise up and down, and rise up and down, and rise up and down. You might notice it doesn't just require the muscles in the ankle. The calf is working, the thigh is working, the hip is even working here. And maybe you can try one time, coming up and going down without holding on. All right. So now I want you to put your hands on your hips. So when you're standing with your feet beneath you, your hips are level. Now, if you bend one knee, you could let one hip shift to the side, right? So actually decide what leg you're going to balance on. You're going to balance on one leg. I'm going to balance on this leg. And so practice what it feels like if you let your hips shift to the side. And then we're going to try not to let the hips shift to the side. So can you balance on that leg and just lift that other foot off the floor? You can bend the knee a little bit. So a lot of us, when we did that, our hips shifted to the side. So can you have your hips just be level? And we're just going to hold for a while. If you feel like you're better off holding the chair, you can do so. But we're just going to make the standing leg work to hold us in this balance. And if you want a deeper challenge, you could try closing one eye. You could, if you can do it on the other side, close your other eye and then open it up. And if you want a really big challenge, try closing both eyes. It won't probably last too long. It's really challenging. All right, let's change legs. So hips are level. Practice hips not being level. So that leg you're going to balance on, shift that hip to the side. That's sort of a normal thing that we do when we shift our weight and balance on one leg. But can you try not to let the hips shift as you take the other foot off the floor? Try to keep your hips level and just balance here. And you could just be holding here. You might be holding the chair. That's better for you. You might, if you're holding the chair tightly, you might go to one finger. If you're not holding on to something and you want to challenge yourself, try closing one eye, opening that eye. Maybe try closing the other eye, opening that eye. Maybe try closing both eyes. And then open both eyes. And then bring that foot down. So that's a really easy balancing practice that I think would be great if we did a lot. We did frequently, because it could be done anytime, anywhere. And you can just see how it's a good practice for maintaining our ability to be strong and balanced. All right, we're going to flow. So go ahead and step to the front of your mat. Actually, I'm going to do it on this side. So we're going to stand with our feet rooted down, stand nice and tall. Take the arms and reach them out nice and broad. And then inhale and reach up. Stretch up like you could touch the ceiling. And then exhale and swan dive forward. Hold it over those bent soft knees here. Let's take a big breath into the upper back. As we exhale, we're going to extend the spine. Maybe kind of feel that lengthening right between the shoulder blades. And then inhale and fold over again. As we exhale, bring your hands to the floor and step back to downward facing dog. Press down to lift up, take a breath. And then exhale to straight arm plank. So if you consider straight arm plank your first position, and then we're going to lift up to down dog. So this is the full option of possibilities, down dog to plank. Now from down dog, could you go a quarter of the way down? Take a breath. And then could you go halfway down, halfway between down dog and plank position? Take a breath. And then could you go 3/4 of the way down and take a breath? And then go to your full plank. Nice. Let's try that on the way up. Let's take a breath, exhale and go a quarter of the way up. Take a breath, exhale and go halfway up. Take a breath, exhale and go 3/4 of the way up. Take a breath, exhale and go into your full down dog. All right, take a breath here. We're just warming up the shoulders a little bit here, asking them to work a little differently. And then lower all the way to your straight arm plank. Nice. Now, if you want to drop your knees down for a little support, go ahead and do so. We're going to try a little bend in the elbows. Elbows pointing back rather than winging out to the side. We'll take a breath here. And then can you straighten your arms and lift up and back to down dog. Take a breath here. Again, exhale to straight arm plank. Again, you can drop to knees. We'll try a little bend in the elbows. We'll take a breath here. And then let's lower down. You might drop to knees. We're going to lower all the way down onto belly. Now, I'm going to turn so you can hear me better. I want you to take your arms out like cactus arms. So your elbows are kind of straight out from your shoulders. And then, like we do in prone mountain, let your chest come close to the floor. Rotate your chin in so you're looking straight down. The back of your neck is long. So from here, this is something I do. Sometimes if your back is a little wonky, this can feel nice. I just want you to, from being close to the floor here, I want you to start to lift your chest up a little bit, like we do a very low baby cobra, and then take one arm and just straighten it. And then turn your chest, your gaze, towards that straight arm and kind of look. And so you're just kind of pushing your spine kind of into your low back. I don't know how I wanted to say that, but come back down, face the ground, and do that on the other side. Start to come into a nice little baby cobra, and then straighten the other arm and turn your body and look to that side. And your gaze can kind of go a little more. Take a breath, and then come back down. So you're close to the floor, cactus arms. Let's try the first side again. Start to lift up into a little baby cobra, and then straighten that first arm and turn your chest to look that way. It kind of can free up some tension in your low back sometimes. And then come back down and do the other side. Straighten that arm, turn and look in that direction. Take a breath. And then come back down. All right. Now take the arms out like a V, wider than your shoulders. Palms on the floor. And again, we're going to start to lift up into a very low baby cobra. And that's about as far as you can go. So we're going to hug this upper arm bone into the shoulder socket to slide the arms in, and then start to pull the heart forward and lift up more into more of a little higher cobra. You can't come super high with your arms like this, but rather than your hands pressing down, you're kind of hugging in. You're kind of sliding your upper arm bones into your shoulder socket, and the more that you come in, the more you can lift up. So take a breath, and then lower back down. All the way down, nose close to the ground. Let's try that again. Start to lift the chest up, start to slide the hands in. You might stay low, you might come a little higher. We call this classic cobra. Can you kind of really press down with your hands and maybe kind of roll your upper arms out a little bit as you're here? And then lower down again. Great. Let's bring our hands all the way back next to chest. Push all the way back to knees. And we're going to take the hips back and sit back into child's pose. Round over your legs. Breathe into your upper back. Let the breath empty out. Check in with your intention. Breathe it in. Offer it to yourself. With your next in-breath, lift your head up. Reach your arms out again for down dog. Make your way to your down dog. Breathe in and out. This time, look a little forward. Walk your feet up towards your hands. Plant your feet beneath you. Let's bend the knees and lower the hips. We're just going to sweep the arms out in front. So we're sitting back in our chair. Our arms are forward. Our spine is nice and long. We could keep the arms here or maybe lift them up by the ears and then push down into the feet and legs to rise up, reach up, breathe in. Exhale, arms down at your side. We're going to flow again. Root down to rise up, breathe in, reach up. Exhale and swan dive forward. Bring your hands to the floor. Step back to downward facing dog. Take a breath in here. Exhale and lower to your straight arm plank. Take a breath here. Exhale, little bend in the elbows. Maybe your knees come down. Take a breath here. Exhale and lower all the way down onto belly. All right, bring your forearms. I'm going to turn this way again so you can hear me. Bring your forearms, elbows right beneath your shoulders. You might measure fingertip to elbow, elbow to fingertip, and then push down to lift your chest up. So you're not sinking down here. There's space across your upper back. All right, so right now your hips are on the floor, your belly's on the floor. You can maybe feel some contact of your navel on the floor. So I want you to take a breath in. And as you exhale, I just want you to lift your navel off the floor. So you're sucking your navel in, but your pubic bone is still on the ground. Now we're going to take another breath in. And as you exhale, lift your pelvis off the floor. So your thighs are still on the ground, your knees are still on the ground, but the rest is lifted. We're going to take a breath in. With this exhale, we're going to lift the thighs off the floor. So just the knees are on the ground. We're going to take a breath in. And with this exhale, we'll curl the toes under and lift the knees up. So you're in a full forearm plank. We're going to take a breath here, and then we're going to go the other way. We're going to drop the knees down, but not the thighs. We'll take a breath in. With this exhale, we'll drop the thighs down, but don't let your pelvis touch yet. Take another breath. With this exhale, let your pelvis come down, but you're not releasing the navel yet. Take another breath. With this exhale, let your belly relax. Take your elbows wide. Let your head rest on your hands. Relax everything here. Press your feet down. Press the front of your hips down and lift your legs up. Toes are pointed, reaching back. Could you lift the legs a little higher and hug your heels in towards your midline? Separate your legs, relax them down. Let's do that again. Lift the legs up, take them a little higher, hug your heels in towards each other, separate your heels, lower the legs down one more time, hips press down, legs lift up, draw your heels in, separate your heels, and lower down. All right, we're gonna do that progressive plank again. So bring your forearms beneath you, push down and lift your chest, take a breath in. As you exhale, lift your navel. Take another breath in. As you exhale, lift your pelvis off the floor, but your thighs are still down. Take another breath in. This exhale, lift the thighs, your knees are still down. Take another breath in. This exhale, curl the toes under, lift the knees. Take another breath in. Exhale, knees come down, but not your thighs. Take another breath in. Exhale, thighs come down, but not your pelvis. Take another breath in. On the exhale, release the pelvis, but not the navel. Last breath in. You can let the belly relax. Take your elbows wide. Rest your head on your hands. Press your right hip down and lift your right leg up. Relax that leg. Press your left hip down. Lift your left leg up. Relax that leg. Right leg up. Relax left leg up. Relax. Let's do both legs. Lift them up. And lower down. Last one. Lift them up. And lower down. Bring hands next to chest. Push your way back. All the way back to child's pose. Breathe in and out here. With your next inhale, lift your head up. Reach your arms out. Make your way to downward facing dog. Breathe in and out here. All right, so we're gonna move into a lunge. So option to drop to your knees and step your right foot out in front, or other option, take your right leg up in the air, draw the knee in, look forward, and step through the lunge. So we make our way into our lunge. We drop the hips down into a nice low lunge. If the back heel can be lifted and pointing straight back, that's great. Have your feet as wide as your hips. You can bring one hand to the front knee, and then we're gonna push into the front leg and straighten up. As we come up, we're going to bring our hands to hips. So let's bend the front knee and straighten it. The tendency when we bend the front knee is to lean forward. But if you can, keep yourself more upright. Bend the front knee and straighten. And bend the front knee and straighten. All right, so now we're going to bend the front knee and then bend the back knee. And as the back knee bends, could you lift your sternum up? And then push both legs straight. Let's try that again. Bend the front knee and then bend the back knee. Lift the heart and straighten. One more time. Bend the front knee, bend the back knee, lift the heart and straighten. Great. We're going to bend the front knee, lean forward, bring our hands down. You could come to knees or step back to down dog. Take a breath. From the knees, you can step the left foot in front, or you could lift the left leg up and swing that knee in and step forward into lunge. Have your feet as wide as your hips. Bend into the front knee. You could place a hand on the front knee to help you rise up. Bring your hands to hips. And let's straighten the front leg, breathing in. Exhale and bend the front knee. Can we bend the front knee without really leaning forward so much? Yeah. At this point, the back leg is staying fairly straight. As you're just bending and straightening the front knee. Now we're going to bend the front knee and bend the back knee. Lift the heart and then straighten both legs. Bend the front knee, bend the back knee, lift the heart, straighten both legs. One more time. Bend the front knee, bend the back knee, straighten up, and then straighten both legs. All right. Bend the front knee, lean forward, bring your hands to the floor, step back to down dog, breathe in and out. We'll flow one more time, straight arm plank, making our way all the way down to belly. Let's inhale up to baby cobra or cobra. Exhale back down and make our way up and back to down dog. We'll breathe in and out here. And then let's walk our hands back towards our feet. We'll plant our feet beneath us. We'll take a breath into the upper back. And we'll let that breath empty. And then let's just sweep our arms out and inhale and rise up, reach up. And exhale, arms down at our side. Great. All right, we'll come over, it'll come into a wide stance. Let's turn the right foot in and turn the left foot out. And we're just gonna bend that left knee and straighten it. Can you really feel your feet pressing down, pushing into the floor as the knee bends and as the knee straightens? Can we keep shoulders over hips as we do this? And then next time we bend the knee, we'll keep the knee bent. From right down here, we're gonna tip the hips over. This bottom arm can rest on this bottom leg. We'll take the other arm forward and let's open that arm up. So as this arm opens up, it does some weird things. Some people, their arm goes way back. So look up for a moment. Is that arm going straight up from your shoulder, or is it forward, or is it back? Can you get it straight up? Take a breath as you reach that arm up. As you exhale, release your gaze forward and maybe all the way to the floor. And then can you lift this bottom arm a little bit off of your bottom leg and then come back over? So that bottom arm lifts a little bit off the bottom leg and then comes back over. One more time, a little bit of a lift here and then come back over. And then we're gonna lift a little bit, push into the front leg, straighten yourself up. Great, let's do that all on the other side. So left foot turns in, right foot turns out, hands are on hips. Bend and straighten that front leg and really plant your feet and push down to bend, push down to straighten. Feel that connection to the ground. Feel where your body is in space. Feel how your hips stay level, your shoulders stay over your hips. Really feel what is going on in your body. Feel your breath. And then the next time the knee is bent, pause here. From right in your center, tip your hips over. Let this bottom arm rest on the bottom thigh. Take your other arm forward. And as it reaches up, turn and look at it. Can you get it straight up from the shoulder? Take a breath. And then just turn your gaze forward and release your gaze down. All right, that bottom arm, lift it a little bit up. Breathe in and then come over. Again, lift a little bit and then come over. 2 more times. Lift that arm a little bit and come over. This time, lift the arm a little bit, reach up, straighten your front leg, come all the way up. All right, turn your feet forward and bring your feet together. Great. All right, so we've been talking about our relationship to the ground. Now we're going to let the crown of our head interact with the ground, which can have an amazingly grounding effect on our bodies. So I like to begin this, we're going to do a very basic, very accessible way of putting our head on the ground initially. But I like us to take a moment and think about where you would balance a book on your head. If you had a book nearby, you could even place a book on your head. So when we balance a book on our head, we balance the weight right in the center of the crown of the head. And that's the part of our head where we want to put on the floor. So really have a connection with what that is, that part of your head where you would balance a book. You might keep your hand there for a moment. And then that's the part of your head that you're going to place on the floor. So come over, place that part of your head on the floor. And right now, there's just a little bit of weight on your head. You're on your knees. You've got that little bit of weight on the crown of your head. Now you could rest your forearms and clasp the back of your head with your hands. So you can just be here with all the weight on your knees. All right, and then lift your head up and look towards your device. I don't want anyone to be looking at their computer while we're doing this. So some of you have done this many times and you know what I'm doing. But just for those who may not be certain, I want to show you the progression here. So level 1 is just what we did. Head on the floor, hands clasping. Don't do it yet, just watch. The next level is to curl the toes under, and you could lift the knees a little bit. You could straighten the legs. and you'd have a little more weight. You could walk your feet in to bring your hips a little bit higher. Some people can come up into a headstand with their legs in the air. Some of you may want to go to the wall and do it at the wall. If you do it at the wall, you want to have your fingertips right up against the wall, and then you would clasp your hands and put your head there. So you're not right up against the wall, you're a forearm distance. So lots of options. So now I'd like you to choose your option. Again, level 1 for many of us is just crown of the head on the floor, hands cradling, and just this relationship of the crown of the head connecting to the floor can have a powerful impact. So whether your knees are down, whether your knees are up, whether your legs are up in the air, just notice how it feels to have your head on the ground, and breathe through. And some people might want to stay a little bit longer in this pose, which you're welcome to do. If you feel like you don't want to stay really long, you don't have to. You're welcome to come out anytime you like. So what feels right for you? Just feel, notice, breathe. And if you want to stay longer, you can. When you're ready to come out, I want you to just drop into child's pose. So your forehead is supported. And we're going to breathe in and out here. If you're still up in your headstand, you might start to make your way down. And we want to relax the neck by letting the head be supported and taking a few breaths. All right. When you're ready, you can lift your head up. When we practice headstand, which is a really sort of fiery up kind of pose, we want to balance that with shoulder stand. So this is where we're going to use the wall, some variation of shoulder stand, one of which can just be legs up the wall. So I want you to sit with your hips sideways to the wall. Maybe I'll show you this one. Your hips sideways to the wall, right up against the wall. And then lower onto your back and bring your legs up on the wall. So if you don't have a wall that you can access, you could have your heels, your bent legs on a chair or a couch. Otherwise, your legs are going to be straight. Okay, I'm going to turn this way so you can hear me better. So we have our legs up the wall, and your bum is close to the wall, not right up against the wall. Separate your heels about as wide as your hips, and begin by kind of pushing your heels into the wall, or if you've got them on a chair or couch, push them down into the chair or couch. So you're pushing with your heels to create action in your hamstrings. And then with your heels pushing into the wall, kind of feel like you're clawing your heels down to create more work in the backs of the legs. And as you're pushing your heels in and down now, begin to lift your hips up and start to stop looking at your device, just listen to my voice. Lift your hips up higher and higher like you're lifting up into a bridge till you bring your weight up onto your shoulders. Take a breath at the top. And then with your exhale, slowly, gradually release your hips down. Vertebra by vertebra by vertebra. Slow, gradual releasing of your spine, just like you were coming out of a bridge, giving your spine a chance to articulate its way down. Take your time, and then eventually your sacrum is going to come down, and then you can relax your legs. So one option is to keep doing, well, one option is to just be here with legs up the wall. This is a nice inversion, very gentle. Another option is to do what we just did. Push your heels down, lift up into like a bridge, and slowly lower. And a third option will be, once you take your weight up onto your hips, would be to bring your hands to your low back, take one leg and the other leg off the wall, and make your way into shoulder stand. So You might be just doing one of those options on your own. If you want to work with me here into shoulder stand, you push your heels in, pull your heels down, lift your hips up slowly, gradually, incrementally, till the weight comes on your shoulders. Now the key to shoulder stand is to having your elbows in close, your arms in close. So you might clasp your hands beneath you and kind of snug your shoulders in close. And then we're going to bring our hands onto our hips. So the heel of the hands presses down, the fingers point up. And they provide the support so that when you take one leg, maybe the other leg off the wall, you feel the support. There's weight on the back of your arms that are pressing into the floor. So again, you don't want to be turning your head when you're in these poses. You want to just be looking up at the ceiling. So you might be rolling up and rolling down. You might be just legs up the wall. You might be in your shoulder stand. And some people like to hang out in shoulder stand for a while, and some people would rather come out. Whatever's right for you is what's right for you. So if you have chosen to come out, you can just hang out with legs up the wall. If you're in a shoulder stand and you want to come out, some options are to take your legs back to the wall and roll down. You could bring your knees to nose and roll down. You could stretch your legs overhead into plow pose and then roll down. But whatever way you choose, we have the opportunity one more time to articulate the spot and roll out slowly, gradually, incrementally, rolling down. And whatever option we chose, we still end up with our legs on the wall and on our chair or whatever. And we'll take a moment here and take a breath. Then we'll slide our feet down onto the wall and push our hips away so that we have room to roll to the side and push ourselves up. And we're going to make our way over to lying down. We're going to move into our final Shavasana. But for this time, I need everyone to have something under their head. So even if you normally don't put a pillow or a blanket under your head, I'd like you to find something soft. So we're going to do a little neck release because we did shoulder stand. It's a little counter pose to shoulder stand. And it's nice even if you didn't do shoulder stand. It's nice release for the neck. So lie back with something soft that has a little cushion in it under your head. And snug it right up against your shoulders. We'll have our feet on the floor. And with your gaze just up at the ceiling, make sure your head is centered. You might kind of tug on the base of your skull a little bit so your back of your neck is long. And release your head so that it's centered. Sometimes our head sort of naturally turns to one side or the other. But can you have the weight right in the center of the back of your head? And then as you breathe in, I want you to press the back of your head into the blanket with some gentle force. So you're not pushing with all your might, but there's some pressure there. You're pressing. And then as you exhale, you can release that pressure. So we're going to inhale and press the back of the head into the cushiony surface. And exhale and release that. And a couple more like that. Inhale and press. And exhale and release. And one more time. Inhale and press. And exhale and release. Good. All right, you might want the cushion under your head. You might slide it out. You might put on a layer now on your socks or cover up or put a blanket over you. I want you to set yourself up so that you can be as comfortable as possible for these final few minutes of our practice together. Try not to skip this part of your practice. It's a really valuable part of our yoga practice, this time where we let our bodies fully relax. So make your way to lying down in a comfortable way. Some people, if they're in their bedroom, they could transition to their bed even. So as you lie back, just feel enough space that your arms can rest easily. Your legs can be relaxed, releasing into the floor. Just begin to feel how your body drops into relaxation. And actually, you don't need to analyze it too much. Just allow it to happen. Just let the body follow its wisdom, its intuition, its awareness that it can relax now. We're giving ourselves this time and space and this permission to let go, to unclench, ungrip, unfurl, soften, release, relax, and let go. And legs and arms, in the hips and belly, and the chest and shoulders, all just releasing, popping, relaxing. And then the head and the facial muscles, loose and heavy, smooth and relaxed. And just be here now as you are. No instruction, nothing to do, no way that you have to be. Just allow yourself to be however you are. Let your mind be just as it is. Let it rest. Let it be. And if you're enjoying this relaxation and would like a little more, just stay as you are and relax for as long as you like. If you have a time constraint or you're ready to be done, you can start to open your eyes. You can bring your feet to the floor and roll to your side. Take a little time to transition. And when you're ready, you can make your way up to sitting. I have another nice reading to share if you have time. It's short. It's again from Anna Pauls. It's called Embrace the World. She says, may light be born anew in me and you. May peace reign within our hearts, and gratitude frame our days with gladness and joy. May each one of us awaken to the truth and allow the universe to use us, hearts, hands, minds, and prayers, united to embrace the world. So I think that's a lovely sentiment. We all need, there's so much division, so we need to take this, love that hopefully we feel for ourselves, that we've cultivated in our practice this morning, offering love and care for ourselves and embracing ourselves, and let's try to unite ourselves and try to spread a little of that love out into the world. So thanks for being here this morning. Peace. And again, maybe you're lying back for longer. Maybe you need to head off in your day. If you want to come and say hello or goodbye, you can come on over and do so.